Good evening again, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Realdealfam Network. I am Andre, and this is my beautiful wife, Essie, also known in this house as the boss.
You get it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all again so much for tuning in. If you could, before we get started, could you hit the subscription button as well as the notification bell so that you will get the videos as we produce them? The content is absolutely terrific.
It is.
She agrees. And also, if you would, please hit that thumbs up. We will highly appreciate it. But don't forget, please subscribe. All right, tonight we're just going to dive right in. This topic is somewhat very applicable to everybody. Everybody has this specific thing, and it is called boundaries. You have to have them. They're absolute necessary in life, and without them, you just can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. You always got to have that space that allows you to be who you are and them who they are, and their whatever the dynamic of the relationship is.
And basically, boundaries are simply guidelines, rules, and different things you're willing to tolerate and to keep relationships at bay and to keep them strong.
Keep them at bay.
Yeah, to keep them at bay, because people, if you don't have boundaries, people typically will overstep their bounds, and then the relationship typically will fall apart because sometimes people don't have discretion.
And some people don't know how to say you're overstepping your boundaries.
Yeah, so
I don't have that problem.
Oh, she don't. She don't mind. So, people who are very verbal, boundaries are always known, but some people tend to like the hope that other people have a little bit more self-regulatory in their body, and it would just say, okay, well, maybe I'm overstepping my bounds. Let me back off a little bit.
He's got hope.
Yeah, I do.
I got action.
Yes, but who do you think boundaries are specifically for?
Boundaries for everybody.
Exactly. So there's nobody's off the hook when it comes to that. Even in a marriage, there are boundaries. Even in a parent-child relationship, boundaries are necessary. So you just can't say this particular person, I don't have boundaries for them. It's just open carte blanche. They can do whatever.
What's the boundaries in our relationship? What's one?
Boundaries in a marital relationship, I think, first of all, is absolute respect for one another.
Yeah.
And with that being said, just the way you carry yourself, the way you behave, and I guess respecting your spouse's space.
And their time. So we always have that issue. Which I ain't gonna
I left that one
out. Which I ain't gonna be home base. Oh, I'll be in about 5 or so. We want to take the kids to the movies or something. We'll be waiting 5, 6. Oh, I'm just finishing up. 7. I'll be right there. Well, we could have been done, but seen the movie, been home by now.
Right. Sometimes things pop up. But like she said, you always want to just give them a call and let them know, hey, I'm running a little behind and something came up and I need to handle that real quick.
So it's not that, you could just say, I'm running behind, why don't y'all just go without me? But he always wants to go. So the part of the boundaries is just overstepping and not being courteous enough to allow the person to make the decision whether or not they want to stay and wait or go ahead and go, and you got to go next time, boo.
Oh, that's correct. That's good. Recently, I've been doing a lot better with that. But before, I would always be out, and typically when I get ready to come in, I receive another call or something of that nature, and then it kind of ties me over, and I just be like, well, I get there. But like I said, it's not very courteous, and so you overstep your bounds in that respect.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
What's something I do that's overstepping boundaries?
Sometimes when I'm handling business or something, sometimes she'll just come out. She's very outspoken, and she just like to take control of the situation. So if something going a certain way, and she feel like I'm being a little too smooth with it, a little bit more diplomatic.
Diplomatic. He's always trying to be nice. He don't know how to say no, so it's just smoothing it out.
Yeah. So that happens sometimes. But for the most part, she does good about that. I don't have too many issues with that. Now, sometimes when you work with people, you have coworkers, and sometimes they think maybe you're a little too nice or something, and they overstep their bounds. You might be attending to a customer or something, and then they may walk up and feel like they can go ahead and take over the situation. I'm sure you had that experience before, honey. Not in terms of a customer, but you worked in education.
Yeah. Hold on one moment. I have a child who's overstepping their bounds. Like mama. Like mama back here?
She's back. She had to handle a little something.
Well, now, what was that question again?
Well, we was talking about boundaries. I was saying you were in education, and I'm sure you've experienced some time where you may have had a coworker or even, I guess, a boss or something that may have overstepped the bounds. In terms of like when you was teaching a class and you felt like it should have been taught a certain way, and then they come in and try to implement something else.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that much you could really do when it's your job.
No.
Yeah, so you kind of just gotta, button it up and see if you can do whatever, is in the parameters of kind of doing what they want to do, but also doing what needs to be done. Now with children, you gotta draw a fine line in the sand and say, hey, you cross this line, you know what's going down.
Yeah, and a lot of times in African American families, sometimes it's a single parent household, and then over time, that particular parent finds another person that they're interested in and may form a relationship or something. And sometimes the kids feel like they can implement how they feel about the situation, and kind of if the parent is really feeling this person, but the kids may not be feeling the same way. They may be a little bit more partial to the other parent. And sometimes they
not my daddy.
Yeah, they overstep their bounds in terms of interfering with the parents' relationship. So
that's a tough one. What can you do in that situation?
I think that the best thing to do is for the parent and the new significant other is to sit down and have a good conversation with the kid, make the kid feel comfortable, and let them know that this is a grown-up type situation, and it's going to proceed forward whether you like it or not. But we would like for you to have a clear understanding on who we are and how we plan on moving forward.
I think kids are not they'll hear you, but they're not listening to that. You typically have to show children through long standing relationship the type person you are, and then after that they give you respect. But up until then, you're not getting a darn thing. You're going to have to consistently stay in your line.
That's it. And sometimes that's what happens. When somebody oversteps their bounds, then there's typically a result that takes place from that. People get cut off, people get basically ignored or even dismissed completely. So you definitely want to be careful about doing things like that. I'm sure everybody has somebody in their life that they felt like offended them or kind of overstepped their bounds in terms of their personal space or what they was going on, and they had to cut them off. Have you ever had somebody like that?
You asked me that. We have family members like that all the time. I think that's a normal thing, especially when you're a young person becoming an adult. It have to be assertive in letting people know, especially if you're a responsible young person. Hey, I'm responsible. I might make a mistake or two, but this is how it is, and I'm responsible. So, your parent typically has a hard time with that sometimes. So you just have to let it play out.
And I'm sure if everybody looked back in their life, they've violated someone's boundaries before. Sometimes you do it unconsciously. But it's important that when somebody does it to you, you let them know. That's the only way that relationship is going to be healthy. Because if you don't, they consistently do it. All it's going to do is build animosity.
What do your parents do when you're at a certain age and they want you to leave at the house? They don't tell you, but they just start showing you like cutting back on toilet paper. Yeah. Don't buy soap in the bathroom.
But they just hope you have at least a tiny bit of self-awareness to realize the clock is ticking. And so you done reached adulthood. They've done their job. It's time for you to go to the next level. Just like when you're in the 11th grade, the next year you go to the 12th grade. Mm-hmm. So once school over with, the parents done their job. You just got to go ahead and
start buying dope powder, all kinds of stuff. Wait, no, but
that's a big one. I think a lot of people get caught into that one. Sometimes it's just out of fear.
Of what?
Fear of going out into the world and being an adult. I mean, some kids are scared.
Well, a lot of people move back into the parents' home when they get older, and they don't have a clue about it. It's about that time to get up out of there.
Now that can be a major violation. Most parents are willing to let the kids come back home for a minute if they run into a little bit of problems, or they just need some time. They transitioning from maybe one job or a school or something like that. But where the boundaries get violated is when you overstay your welcome.
Mm-hmm. Especially if they're older or senior and they let you in for a moment. You know, they're on a limited budget, so when you overstep, it's serious.
Yeah, then they have to call the other kid.
Yeah.
And then problems ensue after that.
Yeah, that's when you get the clip.
Yeah.
So you definitely don't want to overstep your boundaries. You have to be aware of the small signals and the little things that, you're just not aware of, but they're doing them. You just don't want to see them.
Right. It's
maybe they're not talking to you in the hallway anymore.
Yeah, you'll get the hint real quick. But just always try to be a little self-aware. That's all. Just respect other space and time, and you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And you won't typically run into those issues.
And try to be responsible for yourself or your family. And there you go. Responsible for you and your family, and you won't violate anybody else's boundaries.
That's it. And from that point, most of the time, the relationships, like we always say, will begin to flourish and thrive, and everything will work out from that point. But if you don't expect to have very healthy relationships. There's going to always be some issues. Mm-hmm. So always keep that in mind. I have boundaries. Other individuals have boundaries. And we're going to respect that from everybody. And I think that's where we're going to leave it. But thank y'all again so much for coming in and tuning in tonight. It's been absolutely amazing. We thank y'all so much for your support. And if you could you please hit that subscription button and also that notification bell. Also, leave us some comments. Let us know how things are going in your situation. And has anybody recently violated your personal space or boundaries? And but we can always share and then help edify one another. And we really appreciate that. Again, thank y'all so much. Good night.